Hello, my name is Alan Martel. I am a postdoctoral researcher at the School of Library and Information Science at Louisiana State University, and today I am going to talk to you about how to preserve information from web pages. So to start, we're going to open the browser and we're going to go to one website. In this case, we're going to go to NPR. We are going to stay away from politics and instead we're going to go to culture, and I am very much interested in this game review. The game is called The Query, and I particularly like this review, so I actually would like to keep it. And so there are a couple of ways to go about this. One way is to simply click Ctrl P, which is going to open the option for printing, but instead of printing it directly on paper, I am going to choose one of the default options that comes with your operative system, which is saving to PDF. And so I choose instead the digital printer, save as PDF. And now you can see how the page is gonna be reformatted to adapt it to the style of the page that you choose. So in this case, the default is letter-sized paper, so 8.5 inches width for 11 inches of height. Okay, so I can scroll down and I notice that I have all the images that I am looking for, except that you may notice here this image where the caption says horror veteran Ted Raimi. So this one is slightly cropped, and so the last bit of the bottom edge of the image, it shows up on the following page, and then there are also the following image with the game character named Ryan. It is also cropped halfway through his neck. And so the good thing is that I have the text, and the text I can select it, which also means I can copy it if I want. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to use best practices for file naming. So today's date is June the 8th, and this is a news from NPR, and then this is a game review about the query. Okay. And so this is one way of saving my data. But the thing is, as I said, when you open the file, you will notice the issues with the images, and then there are other elements in the page layout that are missing. So there is another option. For this, I could essentially export the entire page as an image, that is a screen capture of the entire page. And I can do this by installing a web extension, not this one. This one is for recording video. This one, screen capture. So I'm going to go ahead and install it. This is a Chrome extension. So when I add it, okay, now it has been added to Chrome. You can see the message. All right, and then I am going to switch screens to this page, and now I'm going to choose the extensions button, and then I'm going to look for a screen capture right here. So I select it, and now I have the option of taking a screenshot of the entire screenshot, or I could only capture the visible zone or an area if I want. So first, we're gonna capture the entire page. So once I click, I'm going to be very careful to not move the mouse. There we go. Now, you can see the whole page is there. I cannot select it because this is an image. You could easily think that this is not an image because it shows up as HTML. But the reason why the URL of this screen capture shows as HTML is because the extension adds a series of elements that you can add to your screenshot if you wish. I am not going to edit my image. I want it as such. And I have the option of saving it as PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and try this option. I'm going to save it as number 2 so that I can distinguish it from the first PDF I took, and I am also going to save it as an image. Now I want to keep my file names consistent, so I'm going to take the name of the file here and I'm going to copy it, and then I return to the extension to the browser, and then I paste the name. Now this is not going to cause any conflict with the other files because the extension of this image is PNG. So this is an image file, whereas the one where I got the name from is a PDF file. So no conflict. Okay, so I downloaded it. So first let's check the PNG image. Now this looks a bit odd, right? I cannot distinguish anything, and it's very long and narrow. So what I can do is zoom in. One way is with the built-in option here, the zoom in button. This takes a little bit, so alternatively I can hold the control button and then use the middle button, the wheel on my mouse, and then just to scroll with it. I'm going to scroll up for zooming in. Okay, and then I can drag my mouse. In this case, on a web page, you typically can use the scroll to just scroll up and down, but here if you scroll up and down, you only get to zoom in or out. So instead, I need to actually drag. I need to click and drag up or down in order to do the equivalent motion of scrolling up or scrolling down. So now, the advantage of this option is that I have preserved the elements of the layout, but of course none of the interactivity of the page is preserved. Plus, I am not able to select the information as I would with a PDF. So, but the advantage is that I have a very clear idea of how the information looked like on the original web page. All right. And so now the second PDF is the one that I exported using the Chrome extension. And so you can see here that this is also an advantage over the previous one. Yes, it is still not editable. Depending on which program you have, which PDF editor you have, you might be able to actually make your PDF readable. In this case, I am using a basic PDF viewer, so I don't have that option. But the advantage is I also get to see how it would look like on a page. Now, if I had to choose, I probably wouldn't keep this particular PDF unless I was able to do the formatting I mentioned, unless I could do the OCR scanning so that I could select the pages. And I wouldn't keep it mostly because I cannot select the text. And as you can see, the size of the pages is really long. So if you're, it really depends on what is the purpose of selecting of having the PDF. If your purpose is to have it so that you can print it, then I will keep the first PDF, which is this one. It fits much better on a letter size page or whichever page size you choose in your printer. This one, providing that you're able to do the OCR scanning, then it would make sense, because then you not only have access to copy pasting the text, you also have an idea of the layout. Although it has the limitation that the divisions between pages sort of crop some aspect of it. But even the cropping, as you can see, none of the images, such as this one from Ryan or this one from Ted Ramy, they don't appear sliced as they do in the other PDF. So each of them has its ups and downs. And if I had to choose, I would probably keep most of these options so that I have multiple ways of accessing the information depending on my purposes. And finally, there is another option, which is saving as a web page in HTML format. So I am going to do, for that, I am back in the browser, and I'm going to check the original page, which is this one. In the original page, I'm going to make sure that I select it, select the page, and then I'm going to click Ctrl S. And now here, I have the option of saving this page as HTML only or as a web page completely. We're going to do both. So first, we're going to do once again keeping the file name, but this time I'm going to add HTML only for my reference. And then I'm going to save it. Now, I can open this on my browser, and you can see that I can select it, it preserves the data, and you can even click on most of the links. Now, you may notice that the URL on the address bar at the top of the page, it starts with a local URL, that is, it's on your local hard drive, your user, downloads folder, and then the file name. However, you will notice that once I click on any of the links, the URL is going to change. So let's say that I click on home. Then it's going to take me to the home on my computer, which is the C folder. It's not going to take me to the home page of the original web page. And so in that sense, you can see most of the information, even some of the interactivity works. Now, if you choose books, my home folder on my hard drive does not have a books directory, so that wouldn't work. This is one of the downsides of this option. But at least in terms of formatting, you can also keep an idea of how the original page would have looked like, even though you cannot access the different aspects of the web page. And then another option is to use Ctrl+S again on the original web page. There. And then instead of HTML only, I am going to do web page complete. I'm going to select the name because I want to keep it, but this time I'm going to add the suffix web page, full web page. Oh. Full web page. Okay, and now I save it. You will notice a difference here. Whereas the one that said HTML only is a single file with the HTML extension. The file that we're downloading, you can see here that it's still downloading. It's going to be a bit larger because I am downloading it as separate pages, and so I have the same file that says full web page. It's the one at the top here, and with almost the same name, you will see a corresponding folder. This is where all the related files associated with that HTML web page are located. So this is the option of downloading the full web page, right? It's not only that you have your page here, again with a URL based on your local hard drive, but you also have this folder, and when you go inside it, you will see a bunch of information that is essentially complementary and is what keeps the page together. So you also have downloaded separately the different images of this file. Some of these images, as you can see, are not exactly, they don't seem related, but this is because it's not just the images of the article per se, but also the images of all the ads and any aspect of the layout. And the news at the bottom of the page. Let's go at the bottom of that page. You can see that there are links to other stories. So these images are likely also, these thumbnails, I mean, are likely also going to be in this folder. And we have also some of these images downloaded as well, and you can see that they are downloaded in JPEG format. So as we have seen in other modules of these course on personal record keeping, JPEG is okay, but it's not open format. So if you choose to keep any of these images individually, we also would suggest that you try to export them to PNG or another open format like, well, yeah, PNG is the standard. So now, finally, let's say that you want to keep only specific images within this web page, but you do not want to do the whole cumbersome process of downloading the full page and then browsing through all the images to pick the one that you actually want. That is one way, but it's cumbersome. So let's say that you only want this image, the first one. In this case, most websites will allow you to simply do save image as. If you do right click, right, save image as, and then the query, and this image is essentially a screenshot from the game, so I'm gonna name it as such. You can see that the extension I am saving it as is WebP, a WebP file. Now I go back to the downloads folder, and let's see, it's here. It shows up as if it was a web page, but it's actually an image. So you could perfectly come and open it with Paint, for instance. It is your image. Now, WebP is an image extension that was created by Google in 2010. It is a standard. It is becoming gradually a standard for web development. And so if you are a developer, it makes sense to save your images in WebP, but for the purposes of long-term preservation, WebP is not yet ideal because it's still not fully adopted across different programs and browsers. In fact, browsers, older versions of, or even older versions of Chrome or Firefox or your preferred browser may not be able to support this image. So even when web developers use WebP, they may need to actually include a separate copy of the image in their servers that is of PNG extensions, so that if a browser is not able to read the WebP version of the image, then the server can provide the PNG version. So in general, PNG remains the standard. So if you want to keep this image, we would encourage you to save it as a PNG image. And this is easy because you can open the WebP image on Paint, as we just did, and then we can just choose to save as. And then we save it as PNG. We keep the same file name, and then we save it. And it says that the transparency will be lost. This is one of the downsides. WebP is developed, is a format that is developed so that it can accept transparency, and that is very useful for browsing through the web. And Paint specifically is not able to support transparencies. The PNG format does support transparency, but you will need to try a different program, such as Photoshop, to save a WebP image into PNG and preserve the transparency. But in this case, we're just gonna choose to let it go. Oh, here it is. All right, and now this is the PNG image. Same thing here with the JPEG files. You could do something very similar. You could come here and then start looking for the image that you want to keep. So let's say that you want to keep this guy right here. So this the file name ends in C50. C50, is it this one? Yes, it's this one. Okay, so I can go ahead and right click and open with Paint. And then similar to what we did with the WebP image, we can do PNG picture, and then we are on downloads, and then we're gonna do the query screenshot, but this is a different screenshot, so this one it's gonna be number 2. Save, and now we go back to downloads and we look for the screenshot 2, and there it is. There is an aspect that we will be covering on a different tutorial, which is how to download videos from web pages, specifically YouTube and Vimeo, but we'll keep that in a separate tutorial. So in terms of web pages, this is it.